Yo, what's up guys, my name is Mr. Freeze2244. In this video, I'll be summarising what was in the latest patch, all the changes that were actually made, not all the changes, but the major changes, and some workarounds for some changes that were recently implemented. So if you wasn't a fan of the 50-minute long video, you can check that out if you want to, if you like it, but if you don't like that longer format, I'm just going to summarise it all here and show you some of the major changes. I've got the words out eventually. And some workarounds to some of the recent changes as well, including the Alt F4 being patched, which there is still a way to get a workaround, and I'm going to explain that in this video. So let's get into it. So the first major thing that's implemented in Hitman Freelancer is the new prestige system. So in your basement, you'll have this little laptop, and once you've collected every single weapon that's on the wall, including all of the collectible items here and your toolbox as well, you will eventually be able to activate that laptop. When you do that, it's going to reset your money to 0. It's going to take all your weapons away and your tools, and you'll get this little trophy right here with a little number 1 on it. The number 1 represents 1 prestige. If you prestige 10 times, you'll eventually get all of the 5 trophies. So there's 5 trophies overall, one for prestige 1 level 1, for prestiging once, 3 times, 5 times, 7 and 10. So that's the prestige system. I don't like it. You might ask, why would I want to prestige and lose all the stuff that I worked hard for? It's a good question. They say that you get a bonus for actually getting a prestige. It says increase your prestige objective versus payout and grant an XP bonus for completing missions. And I simply do not see this bonus. I'm not seeing any kind of significant difference between before I prestiged and when after I prestiged. Do I recommend it? No. I would only recommend it if you are trophy hunting or you really do indeed enjoy Freelancer quite a lot. The XP bonus I think is probably about 500 per mission. I just don't see any difference really. Overall, it's not worth it in my opinion. But that's the prestige system. Next major thing I'm going to mention here is the target jingle. Now a lot of people don't really understand what this even is. The target jingle is basically when you're near a target, you'll hear a little sound effect where it will jingle in the background. It's the only real way to describe it, really. But for Showdowns in particular, they have now removed that. So the people with visual impairments or the people that are colorblind are now going to struggle even more when it comes to these target showdowns, because it's very difficult to actually see all of these things in these descriptions for these particular targets. But they have indeed removed that jingle. I'm going to show you a few examples to know what you mean. But overall, it doesn't matter anymore because they've removed it for showdown targets anyway. But they still exist for regular targets. But for showdown targets, it's no longer a thing. But here is an example of a few samples of what that target jingle actually sounded like and how it helped you.
I love leaks. I love...
So there was a few samples of the target jingle and what it sounded like. As I said, now it currently does not work anymore for target showdowns, and how it would help you is basically if you've got 9 suspects of who your potential target was, and that jingle would actually play, then you would know who exactly your target is without actually going through the effort of following them around for 30 minutes trying to work out if this is indeed your exact target. And it really did help the people that were visually impaired or colorblind, the people that were struggling to see all these descriptions on these targets. It really did help those people, and it did help cut down the frustration with these showdowns as well, and actually cut down the tediousness. But obviously they've gone and removed it, despite not that many people even knowing about it, but they've removed it anyway. I don't know why. I mean, why was that such a big deal for the developers to have to patch that? I don't agree with the change, but it is what it is. They've changed it now, and that's no longer possible. unfortunately. The next big change from Hitman Freelancer is the perfect shooter objective. So usually a perfect shooter objective would mean that all your shots from your pistol must hit an NPC, whether it be a target or a civilian, it doesn't really matter. But if you miss your shot, you will fail the objective. You'd have to get to the end of the mission without missing any shots. Now, a very, very easy way to fail it would be to shoot cameras or shoot equipment, and it would be very easy to do that because muscle memory will tell you to just shoot cameras to get rid of them. With a recent change now, it will now include cameras and equipment, so you're now free to shoot cameras and shoot recording equipment and not fail your perfect shooter objective. So it's a good change. It will help those people that have a muscle memory of shooting cameras just like me. So yeah, it's a good change to perfect shooter. You can now shoot cameras, but make sure you don't miss your shot when you're shooting the camera or the equipment, because again, you will fail it. So make sure you are shooting the camera or shooting NPCs, and you will retain your perfect shooter objective completion. Speaking of no firearms, Silent Assassin No Firearms has always been allowed to use dart gun as long as you don't miss your shot. With a recent change now, you can no longer use dart guns when you're doing SA and F. So whenever you've got no firearms as an objective, you can no longer use dart guns. Some of you may have not known that you could have used dart guns in the first place, but if you got used to that fact, just like I did, you can no longer use your Seeker or a Calmer. So be aware, once you click on Silent Assassin No Firearms or just the No Firearms objective, you can no longer use dart guns as a part of your part of a way to get around it. So they've patched it. But if you are going for Silent Assassin No Firearms or just a No Firearms objective and you have cameras in your way, they have now made a change to the cameras where you are now indeed allowed to throw any throwable that locks on to a camera. So you can throw a screwdriver, you could throw this propane flask right here. It now locks onto cameras. You can now throw things at cameras. It may alert a guard nearby though, so you just need to keep that in mind as well about doing that. But you can now do that. Now you don't have to shoot it anymore, so that's cool. Now, one of the biggest changes of this patch is multiple changes to New York. Now, usually when you come down here, there will be a cabinet right there, and they have now removed it and moved it into the security room. So to get around this, what you'd need to do is basically turn the AC on, and the guard will come out. Now, you can stay here, you can use the door as cover, and once he goes around the corner behind the door, you can now lockpick the cabinet, which has now been moved here. I don't know why they've done it. It seems very, very petty and pathetic that they've actually moved to this location. However, it is what it is. Again, once you've got the chloroform, hide behind the door again. He will go back into the security room, and now we have our chloroform, and you can proceed as usual. Normally, you just lockpick the cabinet and just get the chloroform right from the side of the crate, but obviously they've moved it. I don't know why, to make it a little bit more difficult, I guess. I don't know. But you can now take out the entire security room, as I've just shown you here. That's a way around of doing it. Just be sure to turn it off before you go back in. Now, they have made some changes around this area. I mean, there's usually a guard patrolling outside. He has now been moved. He's no longer there, so you're a little bit more free to do what you want around here. But they've made a change to the bank vault itself. So if you're looking to get some extra mercers from the bank vault, you can still do it. However, there's been a major change there. So usually you would unlock the bank vault like this, and you'd go over there and push the button. All normal. But what they have indeed done is basically all the lasers that are inside, they are now permanently there. There's no way of turning that off on Freelancer. So some of you may have heard people that have gone into the IT room and turned off a few things in there. Nothing works. Nothing turns off these lasers. So the only way to get through these lasers now is trying to work out the path, the way through, Mission Impossible yourself through these lasers. But is it worth it though? I don't think so. Before, you used to get about 8,000 to 12,000 or so mercers from pulling this rack here and getting the mercers coins on the side. However, now you're getting significant amount less. I'm calculating it to be about about 80% less of what you'd normally get. So it's nowhere near. We've got about 3,500. It's not worth it. And getting through these lasers is quite difficult. However, if you've got a disguise on and you've knocked out the entire security room, it's not going to really make much of a big deal if you trigger the alarm, as long as you're in the correct disguise and it's not a showdown. I would not ever do this on a showdown, otherwise they are going to evacuate and you don't want to risk that. So there's the changes to the bank vault itself. Again, I don't agree with these changes. It's a good way to people get a leg up at the start of the campaigns, but it is what it is. Now for these safety deposit boxes, they have indeed changed them as well. Usually you'd find a antique carved knife in there, will be a legendary weapon. That's no longer there. They've replaced it with Mercers. The chloroform, however, is still here in this safety deposit box. And on this side, there usually be a burial dagger, which is also an epic knife, so it would be a good way to get all this stuff. However, they've removed that as well, and again replaced it with Mercers. So you may as well grab these things anyway because they're extra cash, but unfortunately they have removed those things, and that's all the changes with New York. And I don't agree with them, but again, they've made these decisions for whatever reason, and they believe this is going to be the better version of the game. So. And for number 7, they have probably the biggest thing for a lot of people in this patch is the Alt F4 method being patched. And what the Alt F4 method is, basically, is if you mess up during a campaign or you mess up during a mission or a showdown, you can press Alt F4 on PC and you'll be able to restart the game and you'll be able to play that mission again, because on Freelancer you can't restart mission, and that Alt F4 method was a good way of actually doing it. However, now they've patched that method, so Alt F4 now no longer works, but there is a workaround. On console, you can indeed close the application, so if you go to your dashboard on PlayStation, you can push the PS button on your controller, and then highlight the game on your dashboard, and then click Close Game. Once you've closed the game, you can reboot the game, and you'll have the same mission there for you to play again. As long as 47 hasn't died, you can replay this mission to your heart's content. That goes for Showdowns as well. I've got on good authority that it works on Xbox. I know for a fact it works on PS5 and PS4. For PC players that are looking for a workaround, all you got to do is click Control, Shift and Escape at the same time. That will bring up your task manager. Then you need to highlight Hitman 3 in your processes and then end the process. That will close the game down straight away, and when you reboot the game, you'll still have all your stuff. You'll still be able to start from where you left off. And there we go. Other players are reporting that if you double tap Alt F4, you can actually get out of the game, work the same way, but it's inconclusive, so I would not recommend that option. I would recommend just doing the Control Shift Escape to get to Task Manager and ending the process that way. Not completely sure why they made this change anyway, because back when in January, when they released Freelancer, they did say, and they did mention this, it says the test revealed, which is the technical test of November, it says the test revealed a number of Alt F4 exploits similar to what we know from elusive targets. We investigated removing these, but they can't be separated from when the game is exited during a power outage or crash. With the roguelike consequences in Freelancer, we decided to favour players that are unlucky enough to experience this. So if you got into a position where your game crashed or your internet dropped, then they would favour the player and just allow it. So basically 5 months ago they said they wasn't going to patch this, and in the recent patch they decided to just change their minds and just do it anyway, which I find really, really strange why they've decided to do that. But as things stand, nothing has changed on console anyway. It still works just the same way, and on PC, again, you just need to close the application down with the task manager. So there's that. So Wild.io, you didn't achieve anything with that. So next thing on this patch notes for the big thing is the Silent Assassin rewards have been increased quite a lot. I think people were avoiding these because they just didn't seem worth it, and then the extra time it took to go slower and more methodical to get these Silent Assassin ratings in Freelancer, it just didn't seem worth it. But they have increased all the values across the board. So regular Silent Assassin is now worth 5,000 Mercers. I think it was 3,000, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's now 5,000 Mercers if you want Silent Assassin. Silent Assassin no firearms prestige objective now pays out 5,500. I think it used to be 3,500. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. And for Silent Assassin suit only, it now pays out 6,000, originally it being 4,000 if I remember correctly. It says, on a related note, we've adjusted the parameters of Silent Assassin no firearms so that firing dart guns will prevent players earning the no firearms rating. So again, Silent Assassin no firearms, it will be quite tricky to do. But yeah, increasing the values across the board is a good incentive to get you to play picking the Silent Assassin prestige objectives a lot more. The final thing of note on this patch is the public speaker in Marrakesh has now been fixed. So usually when you'd poison him, it would go into the consulate building to be sick. Now with this current patch, they have now made it sure that he will go behind the bins to be sick so you can complete the challenge. So if you use a seeker on him, or you use the gas device, or you poison his bottle of water, he will no longer go into the consulate building. He will now indeed go to his original location where he was supposed to go, all the way back in Hitman 1. So the challenge in itself is basically to remove him from the situation. So you need to knock him out basically and hide him in a crate. But because he walked into the consulate building, that was no longer possible because there's no hiding places anywhere really on the ground floor of the consulate building. I think there is in the snack area, but that is about it. But I'm not going to drag his body across there. And plus you are definitely going to get noticed as well. But now they've fixed it, so you can now indeed knock this guy out, put him in the crate, and you'll be able to get the public speaker challenge completed for Marrakesh. So if you was struggling with this challenge, you can now do it nice and easily. And one last thing, if you were looking to get the black Bruiser suit, it's really easy to unlock. All you got to do is complete the Hitman challenge, which involves completing a campaign on Freelancer in hardcore mode. It's really easy, really simple to do. So that's going to do it for this video. So thank you very much for watching. Feel free to drop a like on this video if it helped you out. Subscribe if you are new to the channel, and hit the bell notification to be notified of all future videos and live streams. Consider supporting me on Patreon, or even becoming a member of the channel by clicking the join button below, or clicking the link in the description for all the details. All these lovely people here have been kindly supporting me the past few months or so. I really do appreciate all of you, each and every single one of you. Thank you very much for watching me. Thank you very much for your support. I shall see you in the next video. Cheers.